didn't really make a whole lot of roster changes. I believe they only made one player swap compared to some other teams that have, in a way, have overhauled their roster. But Crazy Raccoon retaining a decent chunk of their roster might help them in their favor compared to some of these other teams.
Yeah, it's actually a couple of players from the side of Crazy Raccoons who's had a bit of roster change. The likes of Rebirth as well as Rebuy, they've left the roster unfortunately, and Crazy Raccoons has introduced Lastro and NX, which I believe we should be seeing on the server in the matchup against Incipience. But hey, it's gonna be likely the same crew for the rest of them coming online as well, and that's gonna be good because it's important for us to work that synergy like you kind of talked about. Incipience had a lot of time to kind of brush up, dust off the strat book, really hone in with some good old server time. I'm sure Crazy Raccoons had a few scrims up their sleeves too.
Oh yeah, definitely. They are one of the top teams. They did finish 3rd place in stage 1, but for now, it looks like we're already in the hero selection. The picks, bans, and locks going well underway for map number 1. We're going to be on Burn and T'Challa, as the first map will always be Domination.
Yeah, we actually also have one of the new maps joining us, just like you saw in that mid-season finals, the Celestial Husk. My apologies. Celestial Husk, one of unfortunately, not my favorite map, but hey, I've seen some players absolutely dominate on that particular surface. It will be still Brilliant to Charlotte, like you called it. J-Mac, Heian, NX, Sung Hoon, Rip, plus JT3. Some old names, some new faces for the side of Crazy Raccoons.
I like the little faces that Heian and NX are going in their usernames. It's a nice little addition, so I'm liking that so far. But for now, so far, looking at these bans, Mantis going to be taken away. Loki will also be banned on both sides, but it looks like Incipience will block the Luna for themselves, and Crazy Raccoon will take Mantis in response.
Yep, a continuation of what we've seen, a lot strong focus in terms of those strategists. Bans, the Loki immediately banned out to prevent any strong and long-term sustainment of those strategist ultimates, popping off an Eternal Bond or Fate of Both Worlds. It's just insane healing output from that God of Mischief. And I also want to draw attention, we've already called out the Crazy Raccoons roster. On the Incipience side, we've got Nakui, Gaku, Wayan, Doxland, Thunder, as well as Xenofly. These folks, mainly in the Malaysian, Singaporean scene. I think Wyland is Australian, yep, and the rest of them should be Southeast Asian. So, as a Singaporean myself, gotta represent, yo.
We love that. We love that indeed, yeah. Definitely a very Southeast Asian roster coming in for Incipience. Wyland being the honorary Australian, so if there's any Oceania people watching here on the stream, you got your representation there. As we wrap things up here in the picks, bans, and locks, there's gonna be, I do want to say, there's gonna be definitely some sort of influence coming in from the mid-season finals. That was, if as most of you know, was the very first international tournament for Marvel Rivals, and from what we've been seeing, unfortunately, Asia weren't on the top step like some of us did expect. But then again, we did see what players have been doing across other regions, especially in the Americas, especially in EMEA. They have really been the trendsetters when it comes to mid-season finals. Because here in the Asia region, we didn't see a single Jeff being played at all.
No, we did not. But hey, when those Jeffs came online, the crowd was roaring to see, Jeff the Land Shark make their debut performance on such a big stage. During the watch party that we did here in the Marvel Rebels Asia Twitch channel, we were hollering as well to see that appear. But yeah, time's about ticking at the moment as we push ourselves into the map here. It's gonna be JT3 back on their signature Magneto, which has been so terrific in terms of trying to make space, cause those ultimate usages can be super important as they make their solo wave being pushed up by Incipience straight into the spawn actually, and having to backtrack a little bit into the site.
Yeah, Incipience having to fight in that uphill battle, making their way onto the site. That Crazy Raccoon did end up getting control. Gaku most notably playing on the magic here, something that is a very different pick that we've been seeing from past matches, but it looks like Gaku is showing us why this magic pick is the reason that Incipience had made it all the way into the Ignite Stage 2 as they take over the site.
They do indeed. Timers are ticking.
Your time is
Noxon will be able to just finish the last player right off. Off to a great start. You don't see that strat come off too much in the past. A little bit of a cutoff scenario as they try to slice this entire map in half with a bit of a rotate, but it's gonna be up top here, trying to isolate Gaku with a bit of a revenge dropout. Gaku is sent back into the server.
I really like how Crazy Raccoon just straight up avoid the choke point. They go up towards the high ground. They take an alternate route onto the site, and it looks like they're going to be able to do so with relative ease. Raccoon is able to find a double as NX will pop. Torch ultimate as there's just so much zone control coming in. The Gaku has another plan of survival as well as he'll fly, and Gaku both popping their ultimates as well, and they will strike back almost immediately.
Oh, Dark Child now online. Let the demon from inside you come out. Future and trying to find your mark because it didn't connect at all. The cocoon from coming in as well. Darkson just trying to push us off. Incipience just buying so much time for the rest of the team, especially with the fate of both worlds.
Yeah, Fate of Both Worlds is going to be burned, but Naku pops the meteor, doesn't land the mark. But it does not matter as Incipience, they still had control of that site that entire time. 86% now. Asuko finding an isolation fight onto the Adam Warlock. Noxon will go down. That's one strategy gone on the side of Incipience. And will this be Crazy Raccoon coming back? Unless Gaku just putting on an absolute magic masterclass, but NX is able to shut it down. And Rip Asuko will help clean up. And Crazy Raccoon, they will prevent the shutout.
Noxon actually changed off the Adam Warlock onto the Doctor Strange, maybe thinking there was a chance for Incipience to hold down the fort and push it to 100%, but nay, it was just a bit too overwhelming from the side of Crazy Raccoons, you know. We've got the sight lines plus Rip getting the Adam Warlock out of the way pretty early on was probably the turning point that Crazy Raccoons was able to push out, right? The heals, the sustain, plus the long range shots from that Adam Warlock can be so crucial sometimes.
Yeah, and here we go, NX. Popping the ultimate just to zone everyone of Incipience. He has a good angle here. Look at all those players of Incipience trying to run away from those tornadoes that NX is providing. But for now, this zone control has to go much longer as the freedom charge will be popped. Everyone on Crazy Raccoon doing their best to try to keep everyone on Incipience at bay, as everyone on Incipience falling, as Gaku is the first to fall. That's not something we have seen so far yet, as Wyland is able to pop the Fate of Both Worlds just in time to prevent any other players of Incipience from going down for the time being, as Gaku will respawn, does have the Dark Child, but he has to get to the site first, as NX is just wreaking havoc on both of the strategist of Incipience.
A great adjustment from Crazy Raccoon, right? Understanding that Incipience probably wants to push out to the high ground and popping, you know, NX's ultimate fairly early on. Yes, they were able to get on site with some well-placed strategist ultimates like the Eternal Bond plus the Fate of Both Worlds, but the sustain wasn't enough. JT3 able to just make mincemeat out of them. Once again, we try to make ourselves a bit of a nuisance here up on this high ground. Gaku will go in. Dark Child available, just waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. That's going to be NX with another ultimate from behind, just eliminating Lion as well as Doxin.
Oh my goodness, Crazy Raccoon. They had a shaky start in the beginning, but it looks like they are finding their footing as it's already 99.99. Look at the overtime meter. It's going down so damn low, but the Karma Revival from Hyon is keeping Crazy Raccoon alive. They're keeping them in this fight as NX will clean up Gaku, who has just been on an absolute tear at the start of this round number 1, but in the end, Crazy Raccoon will claw their way back.
Ooh, I mean, it was a strong start for Incipience, right? To basically get up to, what, 60-some% right off the rip to secure themselves 99% onto Warrior Falls. It just took a little bit of corralling from Marvel Rivals, from Crazy Raccoons. But hey, the newcomer, NX, the new player on the Crazy Raccoons team, doing so much work right now to make
30 seconds
the
before you
push,
attack.
the
Get
aggression
ready.
come out strong.
Yeah, NX on the Human Torch, popping those supernovas at the perfect time, it seemed. And Incipience, there was a moment where Wylan did have the Fate of both worlds available, but Gaku still, unfortunately, went down. That might have been the game-winning pick, or the round-winning pick, I'm sorry, as Gaku being picked off just alleviates so much pressure on the side of Crazy Raccoon. They were just able to fully focus on their own front to back, and just had to avoid dealing with the magic, and that's exactly what they did. As Xenofly will set things up with the portal.
Oh, indeed, they're bursting through. Really an easy pick on to NX, just wiped off clean. Couldn't even see where they went. So Incipience right now, looking once again like that previous map, very strong. Hyon caught off guard. She caught. Oh, whoa! Onto Dawson with a beautiful right-click hold. And trying to turn that tide, trying to make it more difficult for Incipience to claim his first point.
Yeah, Hyon taking away the doppelganger of himself as every one of his Incipience trying to do their best to come back, but it looks like Hyon will go down, but it does have the resurrection thanks to the Adam Warlock passive, but NX doing much more work here as Hyon does respawn thanks to passive. Moon is able to find a pick onto Gaku. Thunder will find J-Mac as the trade comes in, but only one member of Crazy Raccoon is down. And look at Incipience, they are all staggered around.
Yeah, they're all staggered around as well. Just trying to keep Naku alive as long as possible. But hey, with that point being caught and now captured under Crazy Raccoon, they can start getting those percentage points under their belt, pushing onto the advantage, trying to press all this map space and control away from Incipience is important. You know, Waylon's got that Fate of both worlds. You don't want to give them so much space, maybe force it out as early as possible. It's still 12 seconds, but this will just drain the effectiveness, especially because Supernova now popped out.
Yeah, Supernova is popped, but Wylan is quick to use the Fate of both worlds, but somehow Doxlin still goes down. I'm not sure if he was inside of the Luna Snow Ultimate. Xenofly doesn't quite land the mark with the Eye of Agamotto, but it looks like they are able to force their way into the site, but Crazy Raccoon still have control. They still have a chance to stay in the fight as the Comic Revival is going to be popped on the side of Crazy Raccoon, but it looks like it might not do a whole lot as Roscoe does manage to get the Freedom Charge in time. Will keep everyone of Crazy Raccoon alive, but there is no damage coming in as Gaku, he could just go right in. There is no Human Torch dealing with this magic, and Gaku will take full advantage of that.
The best defense is the best offense. Right now, they're just taking them out bit by bit. Incipience able to really hold the fort down as much as possible. We've got Wylan Doxon being such aimers in that backline. Gaku also diving onto the likes of, I think, Sunghoon or J-Mac. I couldn't see in the midst of all this chaos. They're doing the same thing. They want to push up. They want to make it more expensive. I'm looking at Doxon has the Comet Revival once again. So that's just extra lives that the attackers here have under their belt.
Well, here we go. Gaku comes down from the skies after staying on that arch for quite a bit, but NX will adjust to the Phoenix, get some extra splash burst damage coming in. Hyon will also make an adjustment onto the Star-Lord as JT3 will find Wylan, who did have the Fate of both worlds and will pop it thanks to the Comic Revival. And Incipience, they bailed themselves out with Doxlin's ultimate. Will this be the hold? Will this be round 2 in favor of Incipience? Aya Bagamoto only finding Asuko. He does have the freedom charge going, but Hyon goes down to Wyland, and Incipience they're holding. They will find 2 picks, they will find a third, and they will just stay on the site. They will stay in this map as the tick goes up to 90, and we are so close to 100 and forcing round number 3.
Heian? Oh, I thought Heian might have been changed to the Doctor Strange. I saw that glimpse in the top left-hand corner, but hey, they decide not to try to bail for it. They want to hold their ultimates and perhaps bring it into Imperial Institute of Science and really fight themselves there. Holy, was that a comeback from Incipience with some beautiful placement? We talk about the Magic not being an often well-regarded pick. We saw a little bit here and there, I think, in the mid-season finals, but hey, it's Gaku just rocking it hard as they can.
He is definitely showing why this Magic pick is going to be so viable here in stage 2. And now we have round number 3 coming in. Crazy Raccoon might have been taken aback by how strong this Magic pick really is, just causing so much disruption in the backline. But NX still opting to change into the Phoenix. I'm not sure if that is a correct pick. I still feel like the Human Torch just flying around would have been enough for Gaku to have a little bit more of a difficult time. But we'll see here as we head into map number 3. Or round number 3.
Those sparks came in so clutch. We saw a lot of that in the mid-season finals as well. Phoenix was a pretty popular pick as well, especially if you're able to hit your shots with NX. Obviously, we've seen them do wonders. So it's going to be Incipience right here taking the site for Storm. Rip now running on the hunt, trying to make a bit of a nuisance, but it's going to be Heian with a beautiful shot. Supported with the Gamma boost off that team up. Exploding onto the site.
My God!
It's just a sleeping statement. This key goes blue. The Crazy Raccoons are on a rampage.
That was just so much splash damage. Okay, I'm sorry, NX. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for doubting the Phoenix pick. That time,
right.
the choke point was just too much for Incipience to handle. On top of it, Crazy Raccoon making adjustments of themselves, like you said, with the Hulk and Namor team up. That Gamma radiated Squid doing so much work lasering down squishier targets of Incipience, but look at NX. Putting in the hurt, putting in the splash damage, so much AoE coming in. Doxlin will adjust to the Bucky, will wipe out Lion to the side as the Meteor for Natu is going to be used. Doxlin trying to do his best to keep this Phoenix ulti from going down, but it's still going to go, and JT3 lands a 2-point shot onto Wyland. Doxlin will get followed up as well as NX is just causing so much chaos right now in this fight.
They're trying to split up as much of the team as possible, right? With their sparks, trying to make sure they don't play it together. But hey, the bulk of Incipience is they're running double shields. They kind of have to play it together. And so, from that perspective, Crazy Raccoons, they're really trying to counter the method that Incipience are bringing towards the fight. And it's a beautiful counter pick.
Great adjustment coming in for Crazy Raccoon. Incipience, they only made one change. Doxlin moving on to the Winter Soldier. Shaku still on the Magic. That is kind of an interesting call to make, as he is going to get wiped out by that Squid. And look at the placement of that team-up ability coming in as the Beta Wolf World will be popped by Wyland. But there's only 4 members inside of that Luna's ultimate coming in from Incipience. But here comes the response. J-Mac with the Eternal Bond, Hyon and NX. Rip Asuko as well. JT3 now having their ultimates for themselves, and they don't use a single one. Actually, they will use Asuko. Actually, they will just dump everything into the kitchen sink. Just secure the site, secure the round, and secure the map. And Crazy Raccoon, I guess we could have expected this. They will take map number 1, but it was a bit labored as Incipience, they were able to put up a decent fight there.
They were indeed, at least for the first couple of points. But hey, towards the end, map 3, it really just felt like Crazy Raccoon had this under the bag. A great change, a great counter pick for NX, moving off that Human Torch onto another Fiery member that is And I think from that perspective, it's thinking about how much damage you can deal, thinking about the clustering that is being forced out by Incipience and using those sparks to your advantage. That's the power of the Phoenix with 30k damage to their name, 37 KOs. I mean, that is an MVP if I've ever seen one.
Not only that, it's also 17 final hits. NX just putting on an absolute show. Props to Gaku as well for just going off in the beginning of that first match, getting 13 final hits, 19 eliminations as well is nothing to scoff at, really, especially staying on the Magic throughout the entirety of this map number 1. Gaku really did his best to just try to keep Incipience in the game. Map number 2 did go in their favor, but unfortunately they were just not able to get to that finish line.
They were not able to get indeed, and it's a bit of a counterplays from a few different folks as well. JT3 once again, the GOAT, just hitting those dunks with the Meteor M time and time again. I've seen them actually use it together with the Phoenix ult, right? Because the Phoenix ult doesn't necessarily have that much damage, which is a great zoning tool because it strips away like the additional shields and health. That is precisely what a Meteor M might be able to support as well. As we move into these highlights here, it's just phenomenal from these both teams. That map 1 really caught us a little bit by surprise, with the way Incipience was playing as a team, trying to cut off rotations, but the adjustments from Crazy Raccoons was phenomenal.
Yeah, that's probably the difference between an open qualifier team and a team that has played at the highest level in Stage 1. They were able to witness a lot of these adjustments that these teams have been making on the fly, and usually they will work out in their favor. As Crazy Raccoon, they do make the call and they will switch over towards heroes that can contain this magic pick, which, like we said, stayed throughout the entirety of map number 1. And you could probably argue that it might have cost them the map, but that is something we're gonna have to see as we go into map number 2. Do they make adjustments? Do they make any team comp changes, or do they stay similar to their identity?
Yeah, it would be very interesting to see how those might shape the hero picks and bans, because right off the cuff, during the last few games of the mid-season finals, we actually saw the Human Torch ban come out a fair bit, because I think one of the casters talked about it quite succinctly. It's a character where it really is able to play all sorts. You can play long range poke, you can play dive, right up there with some of the dive vanguards to provide supporting action as well. So I think it's that flex player that's so good that the Phoenix does just have. And to have both under your belt, that NX brings, the newcomer, mind you, for Crazy Raccoons, what a brilliant pickup for this team.
This is a great debut for NX right now. The Human Torch, like you said, providing the dive potential. NX also rocking the Phoenix as well, putting on an absolute masterclass with those AoE shots, that AoE damage coming in. And in a way, you can also play Phoenix as like sort of a flanker kind of position. You just have so much mobility. You have a dash. You do have ways to get up to high ground. It's just, in a way, just a better Hela in the end. It's just, well, like, we can see why it's so popular in the mid-season finals, and here in Stage 2, it's going to be no different.
It is going to be no different indeed. I'm looking at Gaku as well, Magic being, looks like it's one of their staple kind of picks and comfort to play around with. The Dark Child went absolutely bananas on that first point. And I'd like to see a bit more of that. The targeted picks from a good Magic is important, right? To be able to get that backline. I think that's precisely where we saw on perhaps points number 2 and 3, where Gaku was able to sneak and maybe do some, silent takeouts from that backline. When you're running triple strategists on the opposing team, that's precisely what you need to do. You need to harass, because there's just so much support, so much heals that comes out, and it just leaves the rest of the dive cop up front rip, the Hulk that was playing on point number 3 to just go bananas, Hulk mode on the rest of the squad here for Incipience.
Yeah, and with that, we will take a short break. And when we come back, we will see map number 2. Do Incipients adjust, or will Crazy Raccoons take over? Well, we will find out when we come back.
One map down in this best of 3 is a statement piece to come in flying and stomp your opponent out. Wasn't a true stomp, but you know, in a 2-1 fashion, able to secure themselves that domination is Crazy Raccoons, and Incipients have a ways to climb back up.
Yeah, we saw Incipients show what they are capable of, especially on Gaku with the magic. We will not stop talking about it because that is something we quite literally didn't really expect coming into stage 2, but Incipients were able to play the magic very well, but unfortunately, like we said, weren't able to get over that final hurdle, which was that second map to themselves. But yeah, Crazy Raccoon will take map number 1, and the way this works, if you are watching the professional Marvel Rivals here for the first time, the loser will be able to pick the next map, as well as pick which side they will be on. The first map always being domination. The second one is up to Incipients themselves. They can either choose a convoy map or a convergence map, and on top of that, we'll be able to choose which side they will be starting.
Indeed, and at this moment, you know, it's the same kind of map pool that we had from stage 1, at least for Convoy and Convergence. The only additional map that we did see is Celestial Husk, which came into domination, but that's not being worked at the moment, at least not picked for this particular first map. And now I'm thinking in the heads of Incipients, right? Trying to get into their IGL hides. Like, well, what do they need to adjust? I saw that late 0.3 adjustments into a triple strategist look that they were running 2-2, kind of the de facto early on, and that kind of worked well with the double shields, but perhaps that there was too much poke that came with the Human Torch, especially when you're able to come around different angles and get the flanks like you saw on point number 1 that negated said double shield. So it might be interesting if they want to try to change it up into a dive come. I'm not sure if that's going to be under their repertoire, but hey, we're going to be looking at Spider Islands. Not a common pick, but a very interesting one to say the least.
I know, yeah, stage 1, we never saw this map in stage number 1. We barely saw it. We might have seen it like, what, once or twice? But so right off the rip in stage 2, Incipients, they are officially calling it their home turf, their map of choice. And now it's just a big question mark as to what side they will be starting on. I believe it seems like Incipients will start on the attacking side. So that is something worth mentioning. What do you think is their game plan? We know they're starting on the attacker side, and Crazy Raccoons will be starting on the defensive side. What would be the plan coming in for Incipients as they try to take the second map for themselves?
Take to the rooftops. I feel like Spider Islands is a map that's always about rooftop ninjas, right? How many people can you stack on top of those buildings? Because there's so much high ground that can be abused. I think the few times that we've seen Spider Islands here in Marvel Rival Asia has been the likes of, you know, perhaps an Ultron with an Iron Man. We've seen Spider-Man with a Wolverine. We've seen a Hela propped up as an Asgardian above these Japanese roofs. I mean, there's so much that can be pulled out. I think the advantage here has to be in the skies. And perhaps, like I called it, dive might help from this perspective. If they relied on poke, they may be outpoked by Crazy Raccoon.
Yeah, why stay in the back throwing snowballs when you can just go right in and throw hands, you know? As Crazy Raccoon will take away the Mantis and the Loki, and the Incipients will do their own similar bands. It's looking about the same, but both sides this time blocking in the Luna.
Blocking in the Luna. Will we see a Phoenix or a Human Torch ban is the real question. I think we're kind of still toying around with it. They did ban the Ultron last time, so if it's still going to be the Ultron, which it has been locked in, it's going to be the same first 3 for both teams as we saw in map 1.
They do ban out the magic. I guess Spider Islands. Yeah, there's a lot. We talked about this today in stage 1. Domination maps tend to be on the smaller side in terms of surface area. There's just not much room to work with if your goal is to get to the back line as much as possible. And with Spider Islands being that much bigger of a map in general, it just allows these backline divers to just get easy access. And Crazy Raccoons, they see that and they're not having it. They just want to get rid of it and just move on.
Indeed, we kind of talked about it during the break that it seemed like Crazy Raccoons did have not a penny, but like a thumb on top of the magic that was rocked by Gaku, but perhaps they want to pay the respects as deserving, and so banning out the magic goes the way by Incipience with the counter bans, right? Both Adam Warlock plus finally the Human Torch out of action. They almost locked it in for themselves, thinking to hog that character for themselves, but hey, just making sure that they've got the Magneto with some brilliant counter Meteor M's is going to be as equally important.
Yeah, the Meteor M is just way too valuable for it to get banned away. And Incipience, they want that extra security as they will secure the Magneto, but they don't take away the Magneto from Crazy Raccoon. So we'll see how that plays out. Magneto just being a staple here in the professional scene, just providing that potential burst damage coming in to just shut down any of these ultimates from these strategists that have been very, very influential when it comes to these fights. And if you played Marvel Rivals long enough, you know that burst damage is king.
Burst damage is king as well. That's going to be a very key feature moving forward as well. If you're able to just land enough damage onto a single player in enough time. We kind of saw, we called it during that previous matchup when you had both the Phoenix Ultimate plus the Magneto Ultimate coming in together. That's a very surefire way of eliminating a backline strategist and giving yourself that advantage. So no surprise that they're gonna want to run that, but right off the rip, attacker sided, chosen, they're clearing their corners, nice and easy. You don't want to get caught off guard with maybe a surprise Wolverine or surprise Spider-Man, but that's not being run by Crazy Raccoons. It's just de facto kind of push and pull with the double shields coming in from Crazy Raccoons, and a bit of a group action here from Raccoon.
Triple Vanguard on the side of Crazy Raccoon to try to keep Incipience at bay as Naku getting dangerously low, but should be able to get healed up in time, but Gaku doesn't get so lucky as he is going to get taken down. Naku finally will go down as well, and Crazy Raccoon with the triple Vanguard setup will be able to hold off Incipience for just a few more seconds.
Yeah, he places a lot of pressure on the strategist, but looks like they are able to sustain so far. It's just using this cover to isolate as much as possible. Hey, and we talked about Rooftop Ninjas trying their best to make it a bit more interesting.
Prison
is so targeted, and will be able to take care of Violet in that backline. Rip right there with that Eternal Block up, perhaps a little too late, but it's countered by the Cosmic Yarn as well.
Oh my goodness, great pick coming in from Crazy Raccoon. They know how valuable this Una Snow is, and if you keep this Una Snow out of the fight, it's going to take her so much longer to charge up the Fate of Both Worlds. But Wyland does finally have it, but already it's been a whole minute and a half locked for Incipience.
The Punisher coming out as well with the final judgment, just supported by J-Max. This internal bondage backline struggle, trying to make it work. Now Silent Seduction online once again. NX already has again strangling prison and just puts them to bed. The Omega Hurricane tries to fight their way back out, but the prison's too strong, and they're forced back into this spawn. The Incipience have no way out.
They dumped everything, but Crazy Raccoon were able to respond to that domino effect of ultimates coming down perfectly. And Incipience, they are still stuck. They're still stuck in their spawn. They don't have a way in. They have to wait for another moment for their ultimates to come back. Thunder has the Eternal Bond coming in. That might be the signal to try to make their way in, but JT3 is also threatening with the Meteor End.
And locating an adequate target, looking for the route that will be taken out. Once again, this piece lighting up blue. It's an image that we've seen in past that previous domination match, and hey, it's turning up here on Spider Islands. Crazy Raccoons have bled 3 minutes from the clock so far. Incipience has to come out with an answer.
It's gotta be up to Thunder, right? He has the Eternal Bond. Xenofly, Wylan, and Gaku are close to their ultimates. But it's all gonna come down to Thunder with the ultimate as Bosco is able to find one. And Crazy Raccoon, as soon as Incipience try to force their way in, they're just kicked out the back door.
Unbelievable, right? The changes right now onto the Phoenix plus, not the Phoenix, the Doxlin on the Human Torch, I feel like might be a bit too late, right? We talked about that rooftop access, the verticality that needs to be abused, and now Doxlin and Gaku perhaps are trying to make it work. Naku on the dive agent to make it more interesting, but silent seduction now finally coming out from Xiling, trying to push it back.
Yeah, great silent production coming in. Naku gonna get burst down though. As Crazy Raccoon, they are able to find a trade. But if you think about how this map is laid out, Crazy Raccoon, if any of them go down, they have to make their long walk back to spawn. But look at Incipience. They're all trapped. It's going to be them going back into spawn as the overtime meter is going to be popped. It's going down, but Crazy Raccoon are holding Incipience at bay, and they might just be able to just hold off Incipience, and we may be seeing the fastest map of this entire tournament.
22 meters. My arms are up on my head. I am scratching myself right now, trying to figure out what that was. That was absolutely insane defense from Crazy Raccoon, right? The triple Vanguard supported by 2 strategists. But hey, I gotta say, their ultimate cycling was insane.
That was
right?
Great, yeah. They were just able to cycle it perfectly. Like every time Incipience had a way in, say a Thunder Eternal Bond, Wyland with the Fatal Worlds, Crazy Raccoon, just like that, immediately had a response. They knew what to do, and they were able to execute it perfectly every single time. And look at the rewards that Crazy Raccoon have for themselves. All they have to do is just walk across the street, and they win the map, and they win the series. Yeah,
22 meters is indeed literally just hopping over to your local convenience store and getting yourself a bit of a drink, which is honestly what Crazy Raccoons must feel right now. I'm looking at their composition. They could start with an explosive start, just to be able to overwhelm Incipience, which is, you know, classic true to form for Crazy Raccoons. And Incipience running that classic 2-2-2. Gaku will have to make it work, not having, you know, their true pick with their side, but already right off the bat, Doxlin will find their counter in these Raptors. Perhaps give themselves a bit of a chance.
Yep, that's a great pick coming in from Doxlin onto NX. NX being the star player on Crazy Raccoon, just put on an absolute show. Hyon adjusting to the Black Panther. So we're seeing a bit of variety of heroes being picked up here, as Hyon trying to do his best to get some sort of backline access. But then again, we talked about this time and time again. All they have to do is walk across the street. And look at this, 5 meters left. All for Crazy Raccoon to take over the map. And will this be the way in? It looks like it, as Asako is going to find one. Doxlin will find one, but the time runs slow. And Crazy Raccoon, you made it across the street. Pop a cold one with the boys. You guys just win the series 2-0.
Phenomenal. I mean, I'm sorry we ever doubted Crazy Raccoons. They maybe took a little bit to warm up, but it was seconds before they were fired on all cylinders with a solid defensive hold. And then you called it. Heian running the Black Panther was a distraction. Hey, Heian, run long. Just pull off as many crosshairs and as many bodies off the point. We just need to push 22 meters.
Yeah, that's exactly what Hyan did. They just had to move the point just a little bit. And if Hyan was able to draw a lot of Incipience back, what can you really do? You have to deal with the Black Panther or else you get eliminated. But then again, you also have, if you want to deal with the Black Panther, you also have to move away from the site. So it's just that push and pull that Incipience had to do, a dilemma, if you will, just figuring out what is the better plan, what is the better option, and they weren't able to just figure it out in time.
Indeed, 5 minutes and 12 seconds was all that needed to conclude map number 2 and put the very first win of this series here in stage 2, Marvel Rivals Asia. And gotta hand it to Crazy Raccoons, you know, crazy enough to think of these very interesting strats. But hey, not strats aside, right? It's also in terms of that ultimate cycling. You kind of talked about it a little bit during that mid-round pause, but hey, the way that the ultimates from the side of Crazy Raccoons were used and saved in a timely manner, the way the likes of I think it was NX on the Groot just cycling up their strangling prison so quickly. JT3 survivability, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, and that strangling prison at the end was pretty much the nail in the coffin. NX just finally landing that multi-man strangling prison that he was searching for. We did see him do a solo ultimate onto the Luna Snow, which did stagger everyone of Incipience, and I think that was like the tipping point, really. That was a moment where Incipience just were in a panic. They got staggered so much, and in the end, NX, he's showing that he can play in the front line as well as the back. And Crazy Raccoon will come out with a 2-0 win thanks to a walk across the street.
A great opening start, a great debut for the newcomer here, NX, right? Just showing why they were picked for such a high, high valued roster that is Crazy Raccoons, immediately making a name for themselves and putting a bit of a target board on their backs. It's gonna be now looking at, thinking forward in terms of, hey, how can we kind of break down the carries for Crazy Raccoons with some targeted picks and bans. Chat's kind of called it as well. Definitely should try and strip away some of the tenacity from NX. But hey, NX, their composition, their hero pool runs deep. Hopping over to a Vanguard, right? With the pinpoint accuracy of those Groot's tendrils. I mean, if you can get away with that, you can probably go the distance here.
Yeah, and I did not really think that Magic Ban would have been this effective. I know in map number 1 that Magic did cause a bit of problems on Crazy Raccoon. It was a very close map number 1, but after adjusting to banning out the Magic, Crazy Raccoon thought to themselves, yeah, I think taking away the Magic is going to be valuable. I think it's worth a ban over some of those meta bans that we have been seeing in past tournaments. Look what it's done for them. And they were just able to just steamroll through Incipience.
Yeah, on that second map, it was their map pick, and maybe they were hoping for a bit of a different outcome. Maybe they had some further strats developed for, legs 2 and 3 on Spider Islands, but it wasn't meant to be. We barely got around that first corner, around that little pagoda. Icon, Gaku, and Doxan doing their utmost best to provide the firepower behind the likes of Nakui and as well as Xenofly. It wasn't meant to be. We got some nice picks from them. Gaku had a great domination match, but was a little lackluster on Spider Islands. Doxan stepped it up a little bit with that Phoenix early pick on their counter. But hey, being distracted by the likes of a Black Panther running long when that objective is right in front of your eyes, you cannot run off like cats chasing a laser.
Yeah, and Crazy Raccoon's just playing that so well. But yeah, we do have to give props to Incipience. They showed us how they made it into this tournament in the first place with these very interesting picks, honestly. But unfortunately, it was just a little bit too one-dimensional, and going up against a top contender of Crazy Raccoon, they were able to experience firsthand the adjustments that Crazy Raccoon were able to make, and that really is the difference between these teams that made it through using the open qualifiers and a team that has just been at the highest level for so long. And you can see that difference right here in this best of 3 alone.
Yep, so that's going to be, that first point going to Crazy Raccoons here in the Group A series. It's got to feel pretty good that, on your first matchup, you already start to peel away. It's not over till it's over. Obviously, we still have another 10 days and a lot of different matches from these teams. Incipience still has, I believe, 4 more matchups they can secure themselves to make it in the top 2/3 of the group stages. So it's not over just yet. And, it's a good time to watch these VODs and try and figure out where they could apply a bit more efficacy around your composition.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, it's still day 1 of this tournament, so you still have a lot of time to make your way back into playoff contention. Keep in mind, top 4 of each group will move on, so there will be 8 teams in the playoff bracket, like the final cut, if you will. And yeah, it's gonna be very, very interesting to see how Incipients play their way through this entire stage 2, because there is a chance that they are able to make their way in, squeak their way in, if you will. But that is a storyline we will be observing for another time.
Indeed. Back to the drawing board will be Incipients. I think about some of the late adjustments that they did on their attack half on Spider Island, trying to take more to the rooftops. I feel like when the doors first opened, they were basically on the floor with 3 vanguards that they were faced up against, and it's just too much to bear. At some point in time, Doxlin and Ganku went to the rooftops. I think switched over to Human Torch at some point in time, which they locked in, by the way. Did they?
Yeah.
Am I blind? Did they lock in? Oh no. They didn't. They switched over to that Nito in the last possible second.
Yes.
I apologize, but I thought they locked in. They still had the option of running it, which they did, but it's a bit too little, too late at that point in time. This is the level of counter plays that we expect, right? We need them fast and furious and efficient to make a mark while the timer's running.
Yeah, and now I think it's safe to say we could, I guess, wrap this matchup up, as we do have 2 more best of 3s to move on to. We've got OEG versus Rocket University coming up next in our first Group B matchup. 2 open qualifier teams going at each other.
Indeed. And it's quite interesting because, OEG versus Rocket University. Rocket, I believe, in the open qualifiers was called Revival, and then they basically rebranded or was picked up by Rocket University. And we'll see some very familiar names on both sides from teams of past. Teams like Marvel Vietnam Esports, teams like LMTR and O2 Blast, teams like Be Like XBE. They're all scattered amongst these teams here, and once the rosters are up, we will have a chance to run through it. But hey, it's gonna be a bit of mishmash. That's what we kind of expect from OQ teams as well, as they try to regroup and reassess themselves from stage to stage, from season to season, and try to make it into the big leagues with a solid 5, solid 6.
If you get a high enough placement, you may get a direct invite, like some of these teams here, Crazy Raccoon being one of those invitees back into stage number 2 for having, an impressive finish in Marvel Rivals Ignite Stage 1, having that 3rd place finish. But unfortunately, we're just 1 spot away from making it to potential international greatness in that mid-season final.
My heart's so sad. Unfortunately, Asia only gets 2 slots. Moving into basically the LAN tournaments, and it's a tough one when you whittle down from 12 teams to 2. That's such an insane rejection rate. You gotta play your utmost best. throughout. You gotta dig deep and you gotta study. There's so much on the line that I think some people don't realize that happens in the background. You know, once the matches end, of course we see the players sweat it out in the servers, but once these matches end, the coaches, they're sweating. They're trying to analyze what went right, what went wrong, how to replicate their successes, how to do Tai Chi on their opponents, try and pinpoint their nervous systems and get their chi out of whack. All that stuff's happening in the background as well. It's chess beyond what we can ever imagine.
Not only that, if you get yourself out there on the international stage, you get a lot of eyes looking at you, and
Yeah.
some of those eyes could be other teams that could pick you up. So if you play well here in stage 2 and then it translates over to the international stage, you get a lot of eyes on you. You get a lot of traction, and we've seen this happen in other titles as well. You do well on the international stage in the biggest tournament ever, you may be able to land yourself a nice deal from different organizations.
Indeed, indeed. And I think that's precisely why, you know, it's so important to maintain your presence here in the open qualifiers, right? Because you never know that your team of 6 to 8 folks are going to be able to slug it out against all others, against all of the other factions out there, make your way into the top 12 here in stage 2 and make a name for yourself. And already, it's been, what, a few months here in the Marvel Rivals Ignite series, and already we have household names from the OQs that is going to be terrific. But I think, yeah, we're just hearing from our production right now that we're gonna actually get our very first interviews here at the Marvel Rivals Asia Stage 2. It's gonna be a representative from Crazy Raccoons as we kind of wait for all that to be assembled. But no, we're excited to kind of think about what kind of questions we want to pry into their brains for.
Yes, we're gonna get a little bit of a deeper look into the minds of these players, and it's gonna be not only the man himself, the star player of Crazy Raccoon, it's NX. And how are we doing today?
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice
Hello,
to meet
hello.
you, NX. We hear you loud and clear. Firstly, congratulations on your win against Incipience, and you honestly a great debut as part of the Crazy Raccoons. Just, you know, off the cuff, how did that first win for you feel under the Crazy Raccoons banner?
That first, I mean, I kind of expected it, honestly, but very excited to be competing here today.
Happy to hear that. And I guess what was your mindset? I do want to take you back to map number 1. Incipients really did like to play the magic, and for us on the caster booth, we expected that magic pick to get swapped out sometime in map number 1. Did you also expect that magic to be adjusted out when your team was also doing some adjustments, like in round number 2 you switched over to the Hulk and the Namor composition? Like what was the I guess the mindset coming in dealing with this magic pick that we don't see very often?
Well, when it comes to the magic pick and triple support, basically all we have to do is counter the magic, so that's just why we won Hulk Namor. That's all it was.
Yeah, that's a simple
That
answer.
makes
Yeah,
sense.
if it works, it works.
That
You
makes
know.
sense. That makes sense, you know. And thinking about map number 2 as well, when, you know, we saw you hop off the duelist onto that triple Vanguard hold, and honestly, as a group player, you were just running through with ultimates after ultimate, strangling prison after strangling prison. It just felt like such a dominating force. What was the vibe for the team at that point in time?
Well, we knew we won after the first fight, man. It was doing great.
I'm assuming that solo ultimate onto the Luna was probably the I guess the starting point of the
Yeah, I was having a bit of fun there, can't lie.
Oh man.
throwing some shots out there, and I know it got really crazy throughout that entire hold. I know Incipients were just throwing everything they had. They threw everything that they absolutely could into the kitchen sink, and you guys were just able to just counter it perfectly. Was that all planned out? Was it like, I guess, like a general idea of like maybe this is like the timing of this ultimate coming in, and were you just ready for it, or was it just like kind of on the fly?
I mean, we just have a lot of experience as a team, right? We've like gone through like every situation, so a lot of this is like just all planned out ahead of time.
I like it. I mean, cool, calm, and collected. You don't seem at all phased walking out from that 2-0. Right now, you're just kind of just soaking in the vibes here for us on the server. I gotta say, you know, as you kind of join as a new player into this Crazy Raccoons roster, most of which came over from stage 1, has it been easy to kind of adapt to their ticks? Because you know, every team is a little different, and you know, how has their welcoming been of you?
Oh, it's been pretty easy. They're very accommodating. I have like so much respect for my teammates, so that just levels everything up for me, you know.
Yeah, that is great to hear. And yeah, like, yeah, that is just that's just great to see.